Hi there, welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Ryan Nobles in Washington, and we begin today with breaking news. New York prosecutors just announced that 26-year-old Luigi Mangione has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The sweeping 11-count indictment includes 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. One of those second-degree murder counts is for the crime of terrorism, with the intent to intimidate or coerce the public and the government. Here's Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg speaking just moments ago.
This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation. It occurred in one of the most bustling parts of our city, threatening the safety of local residents and tourists alike, commuters and business people just starting out on their day.
We also heard from NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who excoriated some members of the public for lionizing Mangione's crime or suggesting that other CEOs should suffer harm.
In the nearly 2 weeks since Mr. Thompson's killing, we have seen a shocking and appalling celebration of cold-blooded murder. Social media has erupted with praise for this cowardly attack. People ghoulishly plastered posters threatening the other CEOs with an X over Mr. Thompson's picture, as though he was some sort of a sick trophy. These are the threats of a lawless, violent mob who would trade in their own vigilantism for the rule of law that protects us all. Let me say this plainly. There is no heroism in what Mangione did. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime.
Now, Mangione remains in custody in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested last week. A spokesman for New York Governor Kathy Hochul told NBC News that she planned to file an extradition order and paperwork as soon as the indictment was handed down. Joining me now for more on this is NBC News law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter. So, Tom, walk us through these charges because there are quite a few.
The play here, legal experts will tell you, is that if for some reason the intent that prosecutors are alleging here is not met on that first count, that there'll still be stiff penalties for those second counts, and the jury could perhaps decide to vote guilty there, potentially long term. 7 counts associated with a gun. So there's probably just several hundred people that are allowed to carry a gun lawfully besides law enforcement in this part of Manhattan because of New York City and New York State's gun laws. And so the fact he had a gun on him, armed at the time, and he does not have that very particular license, makes him run afoul of the law. And then on top of that, there's the Ghost Guns office. Now, where do we go from here? First off, you've heard the district attorney say this was a brazen, targeted, and premeditated murder. He said this was a frightening and well-planned murder. Shortly after that clip you played from the New York City Police Department's Commissioner Jessica Tisch, been on the job for just about a month at this point, she held up a front cover of the New York Post, which showed people putting together playing card decks of different CEOs. So she's really focused on it, and it's because the woman who is standing to her side, the Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism for the NYPD, Rebecca Weiner, her intelligence analysts, according to documents reviewed by NBC News, are concerned about the posts they're seeing online, that people are really talking about this as some sort of an act of heroism, as she said, as we've seen in posts, and that people are really supporting Mangione in what he did here. And that has the police department very concerned because it's a short walk from the healthcare industry to the banking industry to all sorts of other different types of industries, really anybody who does something that the general public doesn't like. And that's a huge security and law enforcement concern here in New York. That's initially where we start here on these charges, Ryan.
All right. And then, Tom, what guidance do we have on when he'll be extradited back to New York?
So the next time he's in court is Thursday morning. There's a preliminary hearing, which generally everybody waives in Pennsylvania. It's basically an opportunity, if you have it and you don't waive it, for prosecutors to come in and just unload all the evidence they have against you in open court before you even see a jury or a trial. So that's usually something that defense attorneys will say, no thanks, we'll skip that process. And then the district attorney kind of indicated, Alvin Bragg indicated, that he expected Mangione, through his defense counsel or himself, himself directly to waive the extradition hearing to come back to New York City and face charges. I think given the indictment, the mechanisms that are in play, it's highly unlikely that he would succeed on an extradition fight, and speaking with legal experts. So if that's the case and he waives that, he could be back in New York City as soon as Thursday night, certainly by the end of the week. Ryan, that's what we're probably looking at in this case.
Okay, Tom Winter, thank you for that reporting on the breaking news.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.